My neighbor Nico and I were both home for the summer, and we got to talking about how badly we both wanted to play Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire again. But we didn't want to just play alongside each other, we wanted to find a way to play with each other. So we crafted an idea, we drafted a rule set, and loser has to buy drinks. The rule set was pretty straightforward. You play through as you normally would, claim a gym badge, then wait for the other person to catch up. Once the slacker has managed to beat their gym, we would battle each other with whatever team we had at the time, best 2 out of 3, and the loser has to buy dinner or drinks or whatever it was that night. This quickly became a weekly event, so by the time next Friday rolled around, we were both ready with our gym badges and a little something new on the team. Now the rules are a little more nuanced than that. We weren't complete savages. We wanted this to be a fun and fair match, so the first rule was no unnecessary grinding. Battle each trainer as you can, faint wild Pokemon as they appear, but don't go grind in some tall grass for an hour just to get the upper hand. This quickly led to a total cumulative level cap, being equal at each battle, but otherwise no limits on level. Next, party size and format was based on the gym. We'd start with only a 3v3 singles battle after the first gym, but as the potential Pokemon pool grew, we made our way into doubles battles being the standard and 6 Pokemon each by the end. Aside from that, the only other rules included the species clause, try not to have the same Pokemon as your opponent, and of course, no legendaries. This turned out to be, by far, the most fun I've ever had playing through a Pokemon game. Rather than playing through with the best in slot Pokemon and just running through the gyms, I was forced into building a team not just against the gym leaders, but against Nico's team. I found myself constantly theory crafting, and moves like Fake Out and Protect quickly became my favorites once the doubles battles began. The best part was seeing how both of our teams changed and evolved as this 2-person meta developed, as there were definitely some plot twists that came up, some before the game even started. See, Ruby was Nico's first Pokemon game, and Swampert has been his favorite Pokemon ever since. We both knew that his only choice was going to be Mudkip, so naturally he expected me to go with Trico. But I knew Lotad was waiting for me just at the start, so I decided to be dangerous and grab Torchic as my starter instead. Knowing this wouldn't help me out much in the first few battles, all of my training went into making sure Lotad was a Lombre by the first gym. Round 1 ended up going pretty well in my opinion, but that's because Lombre completely walled out his team based on typing. My team was comprised of a Dustox, Lombre, and a Torchic, where Nico had a Nuzleaf, Marshtomp, and a Ralts. Lombre took every hit like a champ, and round 1 ended in a total blowout. Luckily for me, round 2 had a similar outcome. The only real changes were Ralts and Torchic evolving, and since Lombre still handled everything that he could throw at me, the results were similar to the first battle, with me taking the second win. Round 3 is where things got a bit more complicated. I ended up dropping my Dustox for a Kadabra, while his team remained relatively the same. Unfortunately, that didn't seem to be the correct choice, as his Nuzleaf's dark typing, as well as his perfect use of Fake Out, led to Nico taking the third match 2-0. Round 4 was where we agreed a 4th Pokemon was necessary, and from here out, all Pokemon battles would be doubles battles. Both of us preferred how doubles encouraged a higher emphasis on decision making, and it certainly changed the tides from there out. Nico added a Numel to his squad, where I added a Trapinch. Technically this is cheating because you can't get Trapinch until after the 4th gym, but Nico let it slide. I managed to pull the 3rd win out of this one, beating Nico 2-1. We agreed that before round 5 I would evolve my Kadabra into an Alakazam through a trade, but since we forgot, I bragged that I wouldn't even need it. That was a mistake. Nico's team was fully decked out, now sporting a Swampert, Gardevoir, Shiftry, and a Camerupt. My team of a Combuskin, Lombre, Vibrava, and a Kadabra wasn't looking nearly as hot, and the battle went as you'd expect. That round went to Nico very quickly. On the upside, I had a few more Pokemon evolved for the 6th gym battle. But on the downside, it didn't really matter. Despite having an Alakazam and a Blaziken now, my Vibrava and Lombre just couldn't cut it. This one went similar to the last, and we both agreed to have a 5th member of our party for the next battle. Luckily, Nico was feeling generous for the 7th gym battle, as even though you can't get a Water Stone until after the 7th gym, he allowed me to evolve my Lombre into a Ludicolo. I ended up dropping my Alakazam due to the poor nature on it just not cutting it, and I ended up replacing it with a Cacturn. My goal was to use Sandstorm to my advantage from here out, and Cacturn's ability boosts his evasiveness when he's in a Sandstorm. On my way to get the Water Stone, I ran into a Relicanth, and with my upcoming strategy in mind, I threw him into the team to see how he would do. Nico decided to add a Skarmory to his team, but luckily it wasn't enough to keep me from winning the 7th match. The teams were exactly the same for the 8th gym battle, aside from my Vibrava evolving into a Flygon finally. At some point, Nico grabbed the Game Boy off the table in shock after receiving a critical hit, and the link cable we were using decided that was too much movement, even though it was still plugged in, and disconnected our game. If you younger viewers don't know what it's like to try and play video games with a janky third-party link cable, consider yourself lucky. In the end, Nico ended up reading my swaps right and destroying my team. It was like he was reading my mind, so he took the 8th gym battle easily. But regardless of how hard I got wrecked on our last battle, we were still both going into the finals 4-4, which meant this entire summer Pokemon project was coming down to the very last match, and we could not have asked for a better outcome. Now we had to decide on our 6th Pokemon. I decided to keep my team the same and simply added Ninjask in as my lead. I gave him the classic substitute protect baton pass strategy, and I hoped it would be enough for my Flygon or my Blaziken to sweep through his team. I knew Ninjask wasn't the best to use in doubles, but I needed something spicy to catch him off guard. Nico not only added a Heracross as his 6th member, but he swapped out his Camerupt for a Houndoom at the very last minute. Camerupt just wasn't doing it on the last battles for him, and he figured Houndoom's higher damage output was just the extra bit he needed to steal a win. Rather than a best of 3 like the previous matches, we decided this had to be a best of 5 going into the finals. The real catch was loser had to buy dinner and drinks for this one no matter what, and winner gets to order whatever they want off the menu. Either way, the battles went great. Nico didn't see Ninjask coming on the very first one, so I took that win quick, but unfortunately he caught my habits pretty quickly in the second one and he took that one. I made some minor changes to the team order on the 3rd battle and I ended up taking that one, and then Nico read everything that I did and took it on the 4th one again. After an entire summer of battling, we were still neck and neck going into the very last match. I'll be honest, I'm pretty proud of how I was playing up to this point, but I didn't realize Nico's Gardevoir was sitting on a secret weapon. See, I didn't see it coming, so I went ahead and threw Ninjask out as a lead like normal. The problem is, he led with his Gardevoir this time, and if you don't know what Trace does, it copies the ability of the opposing Pokemon, meaning his Gardevoir copied Ninjask's ability. For those that don't know about Ninjask's ability, he basically gets a free agility per turn, ramping up his speed at a rather exponential rate. And I lost. Hard. He deserved the win, and as you know, that meant I owed him dinner. As you can tell by the pictures, we had a great time eating. We went to a local Mexican restaurant that's been there since we were kids, and in case you couldn't tell by the pictures, this is not us. For some reason, I didn't document any bit of the dinner because I didn't think to, and here I am using random stock photos that I found on the internet. I promise you it happened, and I definitely paid for that entire meal. I can promise you that. This was by far the most fun that I've had playing Pokemon in years, and I'm probably gonna say since I played Red and Blue for the very first time. I've played through most of the games a handful of times, but it's no secret that Pokemon games are not the hardest, which doesn't always lead to a high replay value for me. But this changed how I looked at every Pokemon encounter, how I approached building my team, and most of all, the specified rules that we had in place made it like almost a completely new Pokemon experience. I know we aren't the first ones to do this, but I highly recommend that everyone tries playing through a Pokemon game with this experience. You will never want to go through the solo game again. Since then, Nico's moved to Australia, but that hasn't stopped us from starting up a new round on Heart Gold while FaceTiming across the Pacific Ocean. I was 0-3 to start this time around, but since then I've pulled it up to a 3-3, and I'm pretty proud of how I've done that so far. I am not exaggerating when I say this is the best experience I've ever had playing a Pokemon game, and I intend to replicate it as many times as possible in the future. By the way, a huge thank you to you all. Whether you're one of my members of my surprisingly now active Discord channel or one of my now many new subscribers, thank you so much for the support. This channel has seen so much growth in the last couple of weeks, it's honestly unbelievable, and I'm ecstatic. Each new subscriber I get is huge motivation for me to continue to try and grow this channel and to hopefully make new content that you enjoy. So if you are new here, if you could click that subscribe button, I would greatly appreciate it, and hopefully I've got more stuff coming for you in the future. Either way, thank you for watching, and I still have no idea how to end a video.